Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in. It's another edition of JJ and Alex right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Thursday to you. It's Thursday, right?
Checks
It's
calendar.
Thursday.
Yeah,
yes.
it is.
Okay. I was just checking because we have stuff to give away.
Good thing you didn't think it was Saturday and you showed up.
We do Jazz Ticket Tuesdays.
Grateful for that.
We do Win Ticket Wednesdays, and now we're just doing, hey, we got more tickets Thursdays.
You've reached that point that the only way you know what day it is
By what giveaways we have.
is by the giveaways.
1,000%.
Well, whatever it takes.
Well, listen, when I ate a lot more back at, when I was more in tune with the restaurant scene.
Pre-SLCFatLoss.com.
Yeah. Then everything was usually having to deal with deals. Oh, Taco Tuesday. Yeah, I'll be there. Oh, yeah. Free Pizza Friday. Sure. Yeah, I'm there. I'll be there. There's no Free Pizza Friday, by the way. It's never free. Nothing is ever free, okay? Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, all right? JJ, welcome to the show, man. Happy Thursday to you. Everything good?
I'm happy to be here. Yeah, everything's great. Yeah, powering through the week.
What do we have high school championship-wise in basketball, man? What are we looking at
Yeah,
here?
we got some title games tonight.
We got title games tonight. Huntsman Center's going to be packed with every classification, men, women, everybody getting involved in it. It's a long day. I love that it's all back at the Huntsman Center, by the way.
It's a good venue.
How classic is it?
for it.
Look, and part of it is because I used to live up in this neighborhood, but to have Highland versus Olympus in the 5A championship, that's freaking cool, man.
Yeah. First of all, we'll talk about that real quick, but I have to give a shout-out to Morgan, new 3A boys champions.
Oh, so they just won.
Congrats. That was last night. And the Canyon View girls won their first 3A championship in 19 years. So
Nice. Look at that.
congratulations to both of those teams.
Morgan needed to have some good things happen. It's
that's
tough.
an athletic program. It's been on hard times, right? Morgan is dominating 3A. They own everything.
They basically sleepwalked through the football season.
I love that community. I mean, I wish
They
I could.
crush.
I'm saying this publicly over there. I wish I could live up there.
No, it's amazing.
I love that
It's
area.
amazing up there, yes.
So I'm jealous of all of you that live in Morgan, and congratulations to your high school
Hey, but
athletic
listen,
programs because they are awesome.
But they want to stay 3A, so they don't want you to move there, all right? They're like, we're going
They
to...
want us to stay out.
It's one of the few places you still go, and they have a grass field. I mean, like,
Right.
that's... You can go out there and play on the grass. And they know it. That's part of their advantage. They'll kick your butt on their own grass.
They will.
All right?
But yeah, the 6A boys is tonight. It's number 1 Harriman and number 2 Davis.
That's good to
The
have 1 and 2.
Darts get a 20-point win over their rival.
I
Layton
can't
to get there.
believe that. I cannot believe it. I thought Layton was going to... I thought it was going to be their year, man. Who knows?
It's tough. The 6A basketball here is pretty good, and to get to the championship game is tough.
When's the 5A championship then?
That's on Friday.
Okay, so that's tomorrow.
Yep.
Man, I love it. See, here's the thing. We used to when I was in high school, and this is in the Seattle area, the Tacoma Dome, which is where they had all of these championships. Same thing with football too. That's where they play the football championships, and the whole place was just turned into multiple basketball courts. And we didn't go to school for 3 days. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we did.
Just go to state.
You went down, you'd go watch state. And,
Same thing in Wyoming. You get on a bus and you go to state.
And your team would maybe lose the first or second day. Didn't matter. You still went to the state championship games. You wanted to see
not?
all the basketball.
Why not? Yeah.
And we made a thing out of it, man. It was awesome. So happy for all these high school kids because that's one of those fun moments in high school to be able
It's
to watch
pretty
all
cool
these.
if your school's involved. And on the girls' side, Lone Peak, who's just been dominant for a long period of time, is going to take on Copper Hills tonight. Up at the Huntsman Center for the girls' 6A state championships. You mentioned the 5A. I'll give them some love, too. Highland and Olympus will play for the boys' title. Bountiful and West for the girls' title.
Oh, and West is undefeated, right?
Yes, they are.
Oh,
and they are
man.
very, very good. 24-0. Bountiful's 23-2. That's going to be a great
And
game.
I love that. I love that because those teams are they in the same region then, right? They have to play each other during the year or no?
No, they're
Wow.
not. They're in different regions, but very, very good.
All
It's gonna be
right.
great.
I love it. Okay,
Yeah,
it's that
so-
time of the year.
It's that time. It's title week.
Really love it. All right, let's get some things going. We got the show to get into. We have a lot to cover today. We are obviously, like I said, we've got some stuff to give away. We have some Real Salt Lake tickets to give away, right, Alex? Isn't that what we're doing today? Yes, some tickets to Real Salt Lake.
Football is life.
How you feeling today, brother?
Football is not life.
Oh, what happened?
Just because, I've always hated that Costa Rican team. Heredaria.
Heredaria. That sounds like a disease. I got a bad case of
I've always
heredaria.
hated those Costa Ricans, man. I told you this yesterday. I told you they're going to come in and they're going to talk trash like the Costa Ricans do. I have no idea how alive and well the Costa Rican soccer clubs are, but I would assume they're pretty darn good if they're in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. I mean, my goodness, you got to be pretty good to be at that level, right? I mean, like, come on.
There was a little trash talking yesterday. There definitely was.
I love it. And you know what? They came into Salt Lake. By the way, this is not fun weather for them to come to. This is not – the elevation stinks.
Pretty nice. I mean, if you're going to come to here and play a game in February,
yeah,
you're not going to complain about 50-degree weather.
You're exactly right. So they did it. But
could have been a lot worse.
So now they can just focus on MLS regular season. That's what I told you they needed to do anyway. It's just like, hey, get this CONCACAF stuff out of here. We don't want to be playing in these high-level tournaments.
Alex, get us excited. Get us juiced up for the game Saturday,
Come
the
on.
home opener.
It's a home opener.
There you go.
And we're giving away free tickets.
Yeah.
We are.
Come on.
We're the home of Real Salt Lake on the radio.
I love it. Let's do it. Hey, G2G Bars brings you this program every day. Awesome protein bar. Give it a shot. Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and many other places in the refrigerated section. Let's kick off the program with the cut. Let's jump right in right here, and let's get going.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is What Made the Cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And, of course, this portion of the program brought to you by Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com. That's TrajanWealth.com for all your trusted local financial needs in retirement. Trajan Wealth. It's really hard. I start to get all these emails. When the weather kicks up like this, I get all these emails from the golf courses that I've ever paid a greens fee at, and I had to give my email at some point,
which is probably a lot.
So they're all going, "Hey, buddy, you want to walk 9 holes tomorrow? It's nice weather."
That's a good sign.
I know they're opening
Mr.
up.
Kirry, we're open for business.
I know, but the problem is that like I don't like even a little bit of cold. Some people will power through and be like, "I'm going to play golf."
Really?
Whatever. I can't do it, man. I don't like it.
You've seen the weather forecast, though.
I know it's going to be nice, but I don't know. But the only time I can get out is in the morning. It'll be more cold there, and I don't know.
Don't mean to step on Kevin Eubanks' toes, but I'll throw this out there.
Okay, let's hear it.
Next 3 days. Friday, 55. Saturday, 57.
Ooh.
Sunday, 62 degrees.
That's some St. George weather right there, brother.
March coming in like a lamb.
Let's go. Let's do it. Speaking of March, you know what ends up happening with March? Because March 1st on Saturday, right? Is that what we're talking about?
It is.
We're getting into March on Saturday, and that means we're going to already be talking about a lot more college spring practices and things like that. Although I will say, I know all these teams are not doing the spring game anymore. Like everybody's walking away from the spring game.
It's not. We've seen half dozen big schools do this.
Big programs are going, we don't need to do
that.
this. And I think part of it is that the spring workouts are important, but having the spring game itself, I mean, think about ESPN. This is how desperate ESPN gets. We watch the red versus white or the blue versus white, spring games at the SEC network.
Be honest, if you watched the Colorado spring game last year.
We did last year. We did.
Curiosity.
We did because we were like, oh, when was the last time that Colorado even got any pub over the last 2 years? And of course, everybody wanted to see Coach Prime with the cowboy hat on out there at Folsom Field. And here's the thing: we love college football, and yet the trend now is everybody moving away from playing that spring game, and that's probably fine. They're still getting all their practices in, and I think that the model now is that, and like we've heard from a lot of people, like let's just treat it like OTAs. You know what I mean? Like
have no problem with that.
Have the practices, have a mini camp. What you don't want is that torn ACL from the guy that you hear about at the end of spring. I mean, I can recall, and I know you remember these too. I was doing some sidelines for the radio side of things in some of these spring games back in the day when Bronco had a spring games. Remember, they went into overtime of course, Bronco went into overtime. I know you remember this game too. Awful weather. Yeah. It's late March, but it's slush. It's 40 degrees.
Up doing radio and stuff.
Yes,
yeah.
and it is the slush is coming down.
Yep.
And of course, who's the quarterback who goes into overtime with Bronco Mendenhall? Riley Nelson leads the team blue to an overtime victory. Like they're carrying people off the field. And the thing is that's nice. But I will tell you, all of these coaches are looking at this and going, I love the fight. I love the attitude. I don't know if this is what we need right now in March. Knowing that we have summer workouts, camp coming up in the fall. The wisdom behind all of it is fine. the reality is we just look at those things as, hey, we're getting closer to football season. It is actually not true. So, but what is an indicator that we're getting closer to college football season? The way too early rankings have now just turned into way too early rankings. All right. So the SP Plus rankings.
We've dropped away from the way too early.
I know we've already dropped to one way. All right. And so now we are at the point where we're talking about college football rankings at this point. Now, the SP Plus, this is a computer generated model, right? This is mostly going along with, what they do is that they take rosters, they use production that is coming back to the team. That's a big one, right? Returning production.
Yes. Recent
Recent recruiting is another one. Recent history, how well they've done, obviously, on the field in the last couple of years.
It's
all
initial
those things.
returning production rankings, basically.
Yes, and on top of it, they do roll in recent recruiting, which is kind of hard too, because that's always you get good classes, so to speak, of recruits. That doesn't necessarily make you a good team, especially if you've got 4 and 5 star guys who.
Ask Texas A&M.
Well, and ask these teams who got 4 and 5 star guys, and then they transfer out. But you know what they do is they take their recruiting ranking from those seasons that even guys who aren't even in the program anymore are still attached to those rankings. So the SP Plus is it's a measurement. At the very least, you can look at it. So let's roll through let's just go through the top 10 here. Tell me if you've heard this song before, JJ. Ohio State number 1.
Shocker.
You got a problem with that?
No.
No, okay.
No.
Alabama 2.
That I'm surprised by.
Now,
Why would Alabama be number 2? Help me out with that.
I think that the SP Plus rankings are recent history, recent recruiting, and because you've got and the returning production. So they have a lot of guys coming back to that roster, okay? And with guys with big names coming back to the roster, the fact that Alabama is always going to be the top 5 recruiting wise, so they get a big bump. What did they finish the AP poll at? I know you're shaking your head.
17.
They were 17th, right? And they had 4 losses. Now, what's not weighted as much as they do have recent production and what you've done, right? And recent history, wins and losses, but it goes back 4 years. So it goes back 4 years. It looks at that. Why go back 4 years? Like on a team like Indiana.
Back in the day, you would do that because it would take your freshman class should be seniors by now.
What you'd never get, and by the way, I know it's not a shock, Indiana's not in the top 10, right? A team that was in the top 10 for most of the season. A team that shocked everybody as to where they were.
All the way down at 24.
Right. So 2 Alabama, 3 Penn State, 4 Georgia. Now, I'm actually shocked that Penn State's 3, to be honest, because Penn State they went to the semifinal this last year, but before that, they were always the third string Big Ten team, right? They're always the ones kind of
It was
hoping to
Ohio
get invited
State,
to the
Michigan,
dance.
Penn State couldn't
Right.
beat those 2 teams.
Got it. Now, Georgia at 4 also is kind of shocking to me because of how much money they spend on recruiting, how well they do recruiting class-wise, what their recent history is in the past 4 years. I mean, there's at least 2 national championships or 1 or 2 national championships in that. And so maybe it's because the returning production is a question mark. Yes? That might be the thing that dinged
Who's
them.
their
and got them.
quarterback?
Yes.
We saw what happened when they didn't have their quarterback.
So Carson
Not
Beck goes to Miami, gets his Lamborghini stolen, and then suddenly you're down at number 4 in the SEC, Georgia. Notre Dame is 5. I don't have a problem with Notre Dame. They're the only
They
non-Big Ten.
lost their quarterback, but that's a good roster, good coach.
Right. And
National championship game appearance, no problem.
Numbers will do well for Notre Dame because they're always going to be one of the top 10 recruiting team in the entire country. They're the only non-Big Ten or SEC team on this list. Okay, we'll call them an ACC light team. All right, Oregon.
They're more Big Ten than ACC, but
Oregon at 6, Texas at 7.
Here's where I have a problem.
Tennessee at 8, Ole Miss at 9, and LSU 10. Now, I feel bad for Ole Miss because they've had some good recent success, the most winning success that they've had. They lost the best quarterback that program has ever had. And yes, I said that, the same program that turned out Manning's. But numbers-wise, Jackson Dart was the end-all, be-all of what Lane Kiffin has done in the last 2 seasons. Am I wrong?
No, no one's had that kind of production at Ole Miss.
So
and winning.
Ole Miss benefits from being an SEC
wins.
team, benefits from whether or not you like Lane Kiffin or not, they are a really good recruiting team. They recruit very, very well, all right? And then LSU at 10. So all of these programs, every one of these is blue blood, right? Minus who's missing? Michigan.
The blue blood that's missing, I guess you could say Clemson and Michigan.
Michigan, USC, not sniffing anywhere in the top 10.
No.
Are they? Please don't tell me they're top 25, though. Are they?
They're not.
Oof.
You'd be shocked
You
where
know what?
USC is.
You know what? Hold on. Before you tell me the number, just them not being in the top 25, I'm tickled that they did not make because the computer recognized something that we have all known, which is USC has massively underperformed.
Yeah.
You should be the number 5. You should be a top 5 recruiting team every freaking year, and they can't do it. Fire this dude. Fire Lincoln Riley. He does not do enough. He has zero personality. He can throw the football great, but with what quarterback? And you don't win. So good. Where are they on the list?
They're the 8th Big Ten team on the list. They're 30th.
Wow.
Yeah.
30th.
Illinois,
Wow.
Indiana, Iowa is even ranked higher than USC.
Well, Iowa.
Louisville,
Come on.
ranked higher.
Okay.
BYU,
Ranked higher.
ranked higher.
That's crazy. Now, let's get to some of the local teams. Now, look at the Big Ten, okay? So we just went through Big Ten, SEC. So you got the split on the top 10 is 1, 2, 3 Big Ten teams and Notre Dame, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 SEC teams. Do we wonder where the power in college football currently resides?
It's
no.
clear.
And it's right there. Now, Ohio State won the national championship last year. I don't know if there's going to be anybody outside of the Big Ten and the SEC winning a national championship anytime soon. Maybe Notre Dame. But we all look at Notre Dame as part of the club, right?
Correct.
So the first Big 12 team on this list is Kansas State at 19. Okay, so if you're wondering where the power conferences are when it comes to the SP Plus ranking, you're talking about Kansas State being the first ranked team in the Big 12 on that list.
Should they be the preseason favorite to win the league?
Why would you feel comfortable? I know their returning production is good because they're returning a quarterback, but Kansas State massively underperformed last year.
And Avery Johnson underperformed.
And Avery Johnson,
based on the hype that there was coming in.
I mean, we saw how well he could do, and then he just melted down in certain spots, right? As soon as he started to get behind a little bit against BYU in that end of that second quarter.
Don't let him run.
He melted down.
You win.
Right. And they were in control. Kansas State massively underperformed, but I guess they're getting the boost from the fact that they have one of the higher recruiting classes in the Big 12. BYU comes in at 27, which I think a lot of BYU fans would go, hey, man, that's low. That's low. We just finished this what did BYU end up at in the AP ranking? 13th?
13th.
13th in the AP poll at the end of the season. Phenomenal season. And they're returning their quarterback. They're returning a ton of they're returning basically, a whole bunch of guys on defense, a whole bunch of guys on that offense.
If they can load up the offensive line and don't miss a beat there, then they'll be fine. That's my biggest question. You're replacing some really good dudes on that offensive line, including your leader, Connor Pay.
Yeah, defensive backs, too. I think that's another group that you kind of go, ooh.
Gennaro Guilford's done a terrific job.
He's done phenomenally, but I'm telling you.
I like their safeties.
Think about how much of a solid dude Jackson. We always say Jackson Robinson. Jacob Robinson has been in that backfield for BYU. It's going to be tough to replace him. It's going to be hard, and you're gonna miss him big time. But like you said, Gennaro Guilford now. What's his new gig, by the way? What's his new title? Passing game defensive coordinator.
Yes,
defensive passing game coordinator. Coordinator of some sort.
I'm not smart enough to know what that means.
No,
but
it's a new thing. It's a new thing. It's like the GMs in college football now. They're like, hey.
If they got to come up with creative ways to give a guy a promotion and pay more money, I love it.
Absolutely.
Great. He deserves it. He's done a tremendous job at BYU.
And if there's a guy that you want as your right-hand dude, if you're Jay Hill, Gennaro Guilford's going to be that guy.
Absolutely.
So BYU 27, Utah 32, and then Utah State at 120. I don't know how you could even try to rely on returning production at all in college football and try to have that as one of the metrics.
In 2025. It's impossible.
Half these guys, I mean, not half of them, but I mean, there's going to be guys who leave in the spring from every one of these teams. And does that quote unquote, does a really good player from Notre Dame who leaves and goes to Oregon, is that a quote unquote returning production for Oregon now suddenly? Does that get worked into the S&P, the S&P 500? No, the SP Plus, whatever they do on this computer model.
They're supposed to factor all that in, yeah.
The thing that's tough about this is that out of all those teams that I just named off, and I hate this, it's dead right about the teams that are going to be winning a lot next year, right? Now, You pointed something out last year. Because we felt like last year, and I think you even pointed it out last year.
The SP Plus was not kind to Utah preseason, and I was like, come on.
You're like, dude, come on. These computers are so they're
and man,
even
I
biased.
feel stupid because the SP Plus was right on Utah last year. They were not top 25 last year.
Right.
And S&P Plus, I think, had them in the what was that?
It was like 42 or something like that. Yeah.
It was dead on. Mm-hmm. So there's merit to some of the stuff. It's just numbers. They're taking all these things, and there's merit to it. Obviously, there's going to be some teams that overachieve, underachieve. Injuries are going to happen. There's going to be internal development that happens. Look at BYU last year and the internal development that we saw from that team. You get an offensive line coach in there that completely revamps their offensive line, completely changes their mindset. Those are things you can't measure with statistics. So there's always going to be those outliers, but the numbers often don't lie. And in the case of this, is it going to be perfectly accurate? No. Do I take a look at this and see, does this kind of line up who the best teams in the Big 12 are going to be? Actually, yes. TCU is at 26. I'm very high on TCU. I told you that when we did the way too early. TCU is going to be really good.
Baylor, I think, is also one of those
Baylor's
teams.
going to be good.
What were they?
Utah, I think, is going to be good. Texas Tech is 33, one spot behind Utah. All that group of teams is going to be very.
They're all kind of
very
bunched
good.
up there, right there.
They
kind of the between the mid-20s
There's
and
that tier of the Big 12,
Yeah.
and I kind of agree with that. Colorado and Kansas are in the next tier. Maybe Colorado bumps up, maybe Kansas does, and then you go from there, and you've got like the Cincinnati, UCF tier.
How is everybody waiting for Kansas to just like suddenly take off?
I don't know why,
It never
why
has.
we
Like,
ever do, because historically they've been bad.
Don't forget
They have a good coach right now, and they've had some good athletes.
Well, I'm not saying Lance Leipold
it's
has.
Kansas, though.
I know,
They've
and
never been good.
That's exactly right. And Lance Leipold, I think he's overrated. I think
Wow.
he's done well.
Okay.
I think he's done well there ish.
I think the fact that they've won as much as they have under him, knowing their history, tells me he's a very good coach.
I just think that
It's
what they've
Kansas.
done. I know, but if you're talking about actually going in and I know they ruined a ton of teams' seasons there at the end.
Including BYU,
right? And you knew that they were
and Colorado.
But they still ended up 5-7 after they
didn't
were
make a
supposed
bowl
to be
game.
third or fourth in the conference
Right.
for the second year in a row, second or third or fourth in the conference, and they still underperform. I don't know why we get so much love to Kansas on the football side of things. All right, let's take a break. It's so hard, by the way, to live in this part of the country and to watch all of the Southeast and the Midwest and the East get so much.
If you thought that the 12-team college football playoff and NIL and all this stuff was going to balance the scales, we've been proven wrong.
But I just wonder, what's the reality here? Just tell me straight. Do we not love college football here as much as people in the Southeast do?
Not even close. It's their religion down there.
I just don't. Maybe that's what it is. We love college football, but we don't love it enough. Is that our problem? We don't love it enough. Does USC not love college football enough? Does the West not like college football enough compared to the Southeast and compared to the Midwest?
It's a different deal, man.
The Big Ten.
If you've been there and you've been around it, you realize it's deeper down there. It just means more.
I've been at some of those venues and I've seen it. I went to, and these are like the worst ones you could have gone to. Remember when BYU beat Ole Miss, Cal Van Noy years, right? It was like a 17-16 game or something like that. It was not a very good game.
But
and Ole Miss wasn't very good, and BYU was
even
right
Ole
there.
Miss has the traditions
It does.
and everything.
It does. And then I went down to Mississippi State, and again, that's not the same either as
that's the aims of the SEC.
it really is. And after I had to get my hearing checked because of the stupid cowbells at the end of that game,
Yeah.
I remember thinking these people do love their football, but at the same time, why is it that you can't go up to another level? You can't level up to this type of football other places in the country. You can have one-offs. You can have your Oregons.
Well,
you can even have your Boise
invest
States.
in it. You've got to invest in it.
That
At
might
the
be
same
the thing.
level.
That might be the thing that ends
in
up.
every way, financially, emotionally, physically. You've got to invest in it, and
It's crazy.
I think that you're going to see in this state, we finally have two teams that are on that power level, whatever that means moving forward. And maybe that definition is going to change in 2026 when the Big Ten and the SEC basically take ownership of this whole deal. But you've seen the progress that Utah and BYU have made in the last 20 years. And I'm going to give credit to Utah State, how much progress they made. They used to be a doormat. Utah State's football program was a joke. Not anymore. And they've been some ups and downs, highs and lows, but ultimately they've won more in the last 20 years than they did the previous 40 after Merlin Olsen graduated.
And all of us who have, followed Bronco Mendenhall through his career, covered him at BYU.
They're going to turn it around.
It's not even just turn it around. They're going to do really well.
They are.
They'll be right there. In 3 seasons, they'll be right there with Boise State.
They'll win a Pac-12 championship by 2030.
That sounds so freaking weird. I look at our producer Alex because I'm like, oh yeah. Just because our brains can't.
Imagine 2012 us hearing what I just said. Like, what did you just say?
Dude, 2020
Utah
us.
State winning the Pac-12?
Yeah, 2020 us would be like,
right.
We'd have we'd have masks on and we'd be chuckling at each other through masks, or the 2020 versions of each other.
Well, we can't wait till that Utah State, Colorado State 2028 Pac-12 championship game.
Championship.
Go Aggies.
Oh, anyway. The Mountain West foe, UTEP Miners, coming to fill in the blank. Who's in the Mountain West?
Mexico.
Yeah, New Mexico.
Lobos.
My goodness. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got tons more to go. We've got a basketball roundup here for you. Utah, BYU, and Utah State all in action last night, of course, and we'll have some updates here, and we'll give you a look at man, we're getting down to it. Once we start getting into March, then obviously we get a little closer to the bracketologists actually starting to have to do real work, not all this guessing stuff. They got to really start doing it. So we'll come back. We'll talk some college basketball, local hoops here. That's right around the corner. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest name.
You're locked into JJ and Alex, with the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Get the horns out of that song. What are we doing? Who put that in there? Is that a joke?
Yeah, this is the new open for our college basketball round ball.
It's like a top 10, maybe a top 5 80 song.
Hey, welcome.
And some bonehead threw some horns in there?
I told you we needed something special for our college basketball round ball time.
Tears and fears have got to be rolling in their grave right now.
Tears for fears, but it is tears. It is tears and fears.
Which guy was tears and which one was fears?
We're having a rough go currently. Can we?
Hey, what happened to the horns?
Tears for fears is like, I don't know. Do we have a?
There
we
they
go.
are.
Come on.
They came back.
Must be like a live
Someone's
version
just
of it.
messing with us.
You know, they're over making these songs, and they're like,
they invite Kenny G. Like, what are we doing here?
They're like, we can get some horns in there. It only costs $50 extra. Okay, let's do it.
Kenny G needs work.
Let's go. Hey, welcome to the program. Yes, college basketball, a little bit of a, I don't know, what were you looking for, JJ? A roundup?
That was the word I was looking
round
for.
Table?
A round up, not a round table.
No, let's bring more people.
We're
in.
not bringing 5 people into the studio right now to
I want to have a
discuss.
little bit of a chat about what happened at Arizona last night. Bring 9 or 10 people in here.
No, we're not going to do that.
Last night, Utah going to Arizona. Of course, this was after the Craig Smith dismissal up on the Hill. And you never know what you're going to get. And it's always hard to go to Arizona to try to – I mean, by the way, they're running into Arizona, I think, who had lost 2 or 3 games in a row at home. And they don't do that very often anyway. But we also know what the emotional vibe was after that loss to BYU on Saturday. And Arizona's looking around going, this is not going to happen to us again.
There's no way.
We are not doing this again.
There was no way Utah was going to win that game.
And because you do see teams after like that type of something happens to the locker room, and they'll jam for a minute, right? They try to get together and go, hey, let's figure this out. All eyes are on us right now. Let's turn it up. But it was still a tough one. They go to Arizona, they lose to number 22, the Wildcats, 83-66. Tommy Lloyd, the head coach of Arizona. How long was he at Gonzaga, by the way, as Mark Few's
He's a long-time assistant for Mark
20
Few.
years for Mark Few. Here's what Tommy Lloyd said about Utah coming in after that game and that team coming in, trying to compete against Arizona on their floor after their head coach was dismissed.
Brady and Landon Smith are Craig's kids. And one's the director of operations, the other's a walk-on. And both those kids showed up today, which is pretty amazing. I mean, I know you guys, this is a business, and it's a hard business, and I get all those things, but, like, we all have families. We all have kids. And for his kids to show up today, and Craig, I talked to him today, and didn't have one bad word to say. Straight class. For his boys to show up today with their teammates, it says something. This stuff's hard. What we go through, even when it's going good, it's hard. And I know you guys have opinions and this isn't against the media. This is just society in general. And us guys that decided to coach, there's a lot of really cool things that come with it. But there's a lot of tough stuff. There's a lot of tough days. And you know what? There's a lot of times your family gets neglected because what we're doing to try to, to prove our worth as a coach, to prove our value, to prove that we belong at this level. And so I got a lot of respect for those two young men.
That was nice of Tommy Lloyd to mention that. It is a weird time. I mean, that the timing was not good, like we were talking about from the perspective of these guys. I say the guys on the roster and in the Utah program. That's the timing. That's where the timing is the most awkward. And I brought it up yesterday. I was like, well, from a look like you're trying to do something and make it happen and that the standard is higher at Utah, it was a great time to do it if you're Mark Harlan. It's never a fun time to let anybody go. But doing it when they did it brought a lot of eyeballs and a lot of people going, you know what, Utah is not going to settle for this anymore, right? Basketball has to get to a different level, which you've been saying for the past 3 coaches, right, for Utah?
Feels like more than that.
Right. And so that was a rough one. They go down there at Arizona and they fall to the Wildcats. I mean, at some point, like I said, Arizona's trying to put something else together as well. They're trying to make sure they can make that push and still be kind of a single-digit seed for this NCAA tournament, maybe that 5-6 seed that they've been aiming for. They've been between 3 and 5, and then they've had a rough go, right?
And they lost 3 of 4. They lost to BYU, Houston at home,
right,
and then on the road at Kansas State.
Yeah, so they had lost those. So they had lost to Houston at home, and then they lose to BYU. So losing 2 times in a row at home for Arizona, even if it is a really good Iowa State team and a pretty good BYU team, like that's not you don't go to Lute Olson court and freaking lose twice in a row when your coach is making $5.5 million.
They don't lose at the McHale Center. So for BYU and Houston to go down there and get those wins is impressive.
Yeah, bonkers. Also falling last night was Utah State, who went into Boise State last night. You knew Boise State was going to be. Boise State's on there. They're on the bubble, fighting to get in, right? I mean, that's where they're at. And Utah State is solidly in right now, according to all the metrics. And so they ran into. I mean, going up to Boise is always hard to play. And so Utah State, I don't know if I look at that. It's not a
bad loss.
I don't look at it like it was awful.
I'm not. Yeah. They didn't play well. But nobody's looking at that and going, "Oh, wow, what's wrong with them?"
It's a road loss to one of the top 3 teams in your conference,
right?
You know what I mean? Like,
and Boise State is playing really well right now, and they're right on the bubble, as you mentioned. And didn't they? I think they beat New Mexico just recently as well. So they beat the top 2 teams in the league, which tells you all you need to know about them. They got a great coach. In fact, Leon Rice is being mentioned as a candidate for the Utah job. Not the first time he's been a candidate for that job, or at least mentioned. As a potential candidate. But, yeah, you look at what Boise State has done recently. They beat Utah State, they beat Nevada on the road, and they beat New Mexico at home out of their last 3 games after that loss to San Diego State on the road. So they're starting to build a resume and get on that bubble. So it's good for Boise State. It was a win that Boise State absolutely had to have, that Utah State didn't absolutely have to have. And when you're on the road facing a good team playing that well at home, these things happen. Move on.
BYU also on the road at an Arizona State team that is going through it, man. Like the Sun Devils
What happened to them? I mean, Bobby Hurley's
I feel bad for Bobby Hurley, and he will.
Do you?
No, I don't.
He's a piece of crap. I'm sorry.
The Hurley brothers are not guys who get a lot of people are starting to kind of get their vibe and go, oh, yeah.
No one's going to shed a tear when Bobby Hurley gets fired.
So Bobby Hurley, his team has stopped listening to him, right? Haven't they said that kind of along the way?
Jerk.
He's not real nice to him. What is one of those? They had like a high-level recruit come in. He goes, I would have loved to have met the coach after the game, but he was yelling at the players.
Jeez.
Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, like a 5-star recruit comes in and they go, yeah, I would love to have met Coach Hurley after the game, but he was screaming at his guys in the locker room. I didn't get a chance to.
If you're just screaming at guys and cussing out officials, because that's just how you. There's coaches that do things for a reason, right? You will try to yell at a kid to motivate him, or you'll get after an official because you got to protect your guys. He's just doing it because I think he thinks it's fun.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
I don't know.
It just doesn't. Why are you always like that?
Yeah. Well,
you got to learn how to turn it. If you are always like that, no one's going to respect that.
Well, and then you have Danny Hurley, who is winning national titles, but people are starting to realize, and by the way, I don't know if they just had a yelling dad or what, or just they had yelling.
Their dad was a coach, yeah.
Yelling coaches that they grew up with. That's how they did it.
Bobby played for Coach K, by the way, who was not exactly
Yeah,
Coach K is not the saint that people
no,
try to
no,
portray
no.
him as.
His face was red my entire growing up.
Yeah.
Like I that's how I remembered Coach K.
Coach K is a protege of Bobby Knight, okay?
His face-
So don't
his
act
face-
like Coach K couldn't get after guys.
He had some burst blood
All right.
vessels in his eyes most of the time that I saw him coaching when I was a kid. So, but BYU beats Arizona State 91-81. What did they score against Arizona? Was it 96?
Yes.
So they've scored 96 and 91.
Their offense is rolling right now.
Well, they scored. They shot. What did they get? 17. There was a season high for 3-pointers. 17 3-pointers. Richie Saunders had 20. What he had 26 points to lead all scores.
Yep.
So he had 30 points against Arizona State earlier in the year, and then he had 26 last night. I just had never. I mean,
6 3-pointers.
that's crazy. So. Yegor Demon, by the way, 10 assists on the night. So BYU goes to 20-8 overall. They're 11-6 in conference. Remember last year, the breakout season they had at the Big 12, they were 10-6 at the end of the year. Now they added the 4 other teams, and so they get 4 other conference games. Or is it 4 other? Or
No,
how
they
many?
still have the same amount.
No, because last year they went 10-6. They played 16. Oh no, they played 18. You're right. They played 18, but I think
18 games.
Is it
It's
18 that they end up being?
Yes.
Okay, so they can end up. I don't know. They still have 3 games left, though, and they're already at 17. So they added 2 more. That's what they did. They added
that what
2
they
more to
did?
conference play.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it was 18. I think now they have
They're
to play
doing
20. Yeah.
Wow.
Double check it, but they've played at 17 already, and they have 3 games left. So either
Yeah,
way.
they're at 11. So you're right. There's 20 games. They're at 11 and 6.
So they played 20 conference games, but they've already won 11. So they've already last year they were 10-6 in conference play. They're 11-6
They're
this
better
year.
already. Now, here's the funny thing.
This is what I'm saying.
Is, 2 weeks ago, would you say that last year's BYU team was better than this year's team? You probably would have been tempted to do that. I'm looking at it right now. I was like, this team is. Remember how that team last year was good at the beginning of the conference, even though they beat Kansas late. They weren't playing their best basketball heading in the NCAA tournament. This is completely flipped, where this team's getting better at the right time.
So they had one of the buys, I think, right in the Big 12 in the Big 12 tournament last year. They had one of the top 10 that I think get a first round bye, and then like top 4 get like a second round. Go to the second round.
They got the
like
first round bye. They didn't get the second.
But they
sixth?
play and they played Texas Tech and got trashed that very first game in the Big 12 championship last year. Or when they played Texas Tech was rolling, and then BYU goes in as a 6 seed to the tournament. And they lose to Duquesne, and everybody's so that's going to be the real gut check, right? That's going to be the real gut check is to see when BYU gets to the end of this conference season, which I think that most of the way here, because they still have to go to Ames to play Iowa State, right?
Well, here's the scenario here. The top 4 teams get a bye to the quarterfinals, so they don't have to play the first 2 rounds. They're tied for 4th with Iowa State. They play Iowa State and Ames next week.
And by the way, Iowa State, they're tied with Iowa State with record in the conference, but Iowa State's what, in the 9th or 10th team in the country?
They're ranked 9th.
Yeah.
BYU's ranked 25th.
Yeah, it's a good team.
This is crazy where BYU's, I mean, they were, remember the 20-point loss at Providence?
Oh, yeah.
They weren't good in
way.
December. They were
No,
not a
they've come
good
long
college
way.
basketball team, and we were like, oh my gosh, this team could miss the tournament. And to see where they're at right now, give them credit. Like they have completely changed their fortune, and they have developed and they have grown together. Kevin Young's grown as a coach. Look, you're making the transition from the NBA to the college. I don't think Kevin Young is a great coach.
Yep.
He was going to be an NBA head coach at some point, so you knew he'd figure it out. It's going to take some time, and he certainly has figured out a lot of things. I love his deep rotation that he's doing. It's almost like an NBA 9-man rotation. They're playing 10, 11 guys.
They play a lot of dudes, and they're
you
all
know
really
what?
talented.
That's a strength. They got Dallin Hall coming off the bench. Dallin Hall's really good. So, and Traore's a really good post player. Their bench is as good as any bench in the Big 12. And when tournament time comes around, it's going to pay off.
BYU gets to 20 wins last night of the season. Remember when 20 wins was like that was the
Those days are over.
Yeah, you got to win
25.
25 or 26
Yeah.
kind of get on people's radars like that. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more. Top of the hour, we've got our weekly conversation with Big T, Thurl Bailey. A historic night for Walker Kessler. We'll get his thoughts on that. And the Jazz falling to the Sacramento Kings. But Big T always gives us some good perspective on where this team's at and where that locker room vibe is as well. So stay right here. More to go. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah Jensen.
Hey, tomorrow we're going to be at the 10th Annual Salt Lake Off-Road and Outdoor Expo at the Mountain America Expo Center there in Sandy. Go check it out. Awesome stuff to get great deals, getting some off-road land use options as well. You need to go out and check it out for yourself. The Mountain America Expo Center hosting the Salt Lake Off-Road and Outdoor Expo. That's one of our favorite shows we get to go to. We'll be there all the way through 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Between 3 and 6, we'll be there. Hey, JJ, would you rather? We just saw Hans on the way out, and he has a bag. By the way, cool Golden Eagles bag.
Very nice. Shout out to Jay Stevens for
hooking him up.
That.
So we saw
Jay.
his giant freaking skates.
Yes.
Which is a situation I'd have to be in. I wear a 14 wide. I don't know if they have wide skates, but I have a big foot. And ice skates have never been easy for me to find, but so I typically try to squeeze myself into like a 13 at the ice skating rink when you have to rent them. But Hans is going to be getting in the goaltender gear, okay? And I know everyone's laughing. Oh, that's going to be fun. I'm worried for the guy because these minor league hockey players are going to be like, look, I don't know Hans from Adam, dude. I'm going to freaking shoot this puck. I'm going to make this local radio personality figure out what hockey's about. Would you rather take a hockey puck to the shin? No, the shin's bad. That would break. It.
Oof.
Hockey puck to the thigh, or a fastball to the thigh. So you got Major League. You got like a Major League Baseball player.
I probably have to say a puck, but so I didn't play
hockey. But the puck has edges,
I played baseball,
dude.
so I have memories.
The puck has edges, man.
I played baseball, so I've seen some things and I've been through some things.
I've been hit,
but I have not been hit with a puck before.
That's what I'm saying.
So I'm going to go with baseball, but I'm probably very misguided on that. Neither sounds fun.
No, I feel look.
It's not an ideal situation to be.
Hans does not back down from anything.
What is Hans doing?
He does not back down from anything, right? Opportunity there, and he's like, "Yeah, let's do it, man. I love it. Let's do it." But then there's part of you that's kind of going, "Yeah, it's gonna be rough."
Like Happy Gilmore taking fastballs at the batting cage.
It's gonna be rough. I would rather.
Gotta get ready for the season.
100%, I'd rather take the baseball. The problem is that if you're in the goalie gear, good chance they're gonna hit some version of padding on you or a helmet or mask or whatever. But if it sneaks through on some little area that's
the fact that the goaltenders wear as much padding as they do in stuff makes me think that it's probably more painful to get hit
those
with a
blockers
puck.
are rock hard, dude. Those blockers, those squares they have, rock hard. They are, and anyway, we'll see. Best of luck to Hans. I can't wait to see that video, by the way. When do we shoot that thing? When are they going to shoot that thing? All right.
I think it's due on a Monday.
Oof. That's going to be rough.
Keeps bringing the bag to work.
I know. I love it, though. Those skates are hilarious. All right, we'll take a break. Big T Thurl Bailey's going to join us next. The Jazz fall to the Sacramento Kings. The rest of the way, what are you looking forward to with this team? Walker Kessler making history last night, and Big T's going to give us some insight as to where this team is in the locker room and the vibe with that team right now coming up. So stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.